How does a single foreign corporation manage to conquer an entire, vastly wealthy subcontinent? It's one of history's strangest hostile takeovers, and it didn't start with an invading army. When the British East India Company arrived in 1600, look at these ships. While they carried heavy cannons, their stated objective was strictly commercial. They were there to buy Indian cotton, silk, spices, and indigo. At first, they posed zero threat to the local rulers. They actually had to beg for permission from the powerful Mughal emperors just to set up their initial coastal factories at Surat, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. This was a purely economic infiltration. They showed up bowing to local authorities, armed with ledgers and trade agreements, willing to play by the rules as long as it secured their profit margins. But those profit margins quickly came under threat. The British found themselves in a crowded market, facing fierce competition from Portuguese, Dutch, and French merchants. Out of all of them, the French East India Company emerged as their most dangerous rival. The solution to this market competition was violence. The British eventually defeated the French in a series of conflicts known as the Carnatic Wars, securing absolute British dominance over trade in South India. To protect their monopolies, the company had to adapt. The simple trading firm hardened into a heavily armed, aggressive military power. With the South secured, the company turned its attention north to Bengal, India's wealthiest province. Tensions were already boiling over because the company was using its local trading privileges to avoid paying taxes. A clash became inevitable. On one side, the aggressive British leader Robert Clive. On the other, the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Daulah, who was determined to bring the rogue corporation to heel. This buildup exploded in a summer of 1757 at the Battle of Plassey. This historical illustration frames a massive military confrontation between two vast armies, but the historical reality is much darker. The British didn't win this battle through superior tactics or military genius. They won it through calculated bribery. Before the first shot was even fired, Robert Clive had already bought the loyalty of the Nawab's own top commander, a man named Mir Jafar. When the fighting started, Mir Jafar held his troops back, ensuring the Nawab's forces were defeated from the inside. The victory at Plassey gave the East India Company a template for expansion. They had discovered that a single, strategically placed bribe could be more effective than an entire army. The remaining Indian powers recognized the threat. Mir Qasim, Shah Alam II, and the Nawab of Awadh formed a combined resistance, meeting the British forces at the Battle of Buxar in 1764. The united Indian resistance was permanently crushed. The British forces won again. This victory handed the East India Company their ultimate prize in 1765, a legal concession known as Diwani rights. Look at this diagram. Diwani granted absolute legal authority to collect state revenue directly from the people of Bengal. This severed the existing power structure. The province's entire economic engine bypassed local rulers, funneling straight into a corporate ledger. Acquiring the Diwani was the true death blow to Bengal. The merchants won the war, and then they legally hijacked the state's bank account. Now acting as the real rulers, the company created a catastrophic administrative void. They ruthlessly collected taxes, but they abandoned any responsibility for actually governing the province or protecting its citizens. The immediate consequence of this pure financial extraction was devastating. A previously wealthy, thriving region was suddenly plunged into massive, inescapable poverty. This systematic neglect eventually culminated in the horrific Bengal famine, killing millions of people. Bengal was bled to death. The state was dismantled by a board of directors, its wealth extracted until there was nothing left to sustain the people who lived there. The company took the tax revenue once destined for the Nawab and used it to bankroll a massive private army, the very force that would dismantle the rest of India. Lord Wellesley used this army to force a subsidiary alliance on neighboring rulers. He offered British protection in exchange for heavy fees. When a ruler couldn't pay, the company simply seized their land as collateral. Lord Dalhousie then weaponized the law with the doctrine of lapse. If a ruler died without a direct male heir, the company declared the lineage lapsed and annexed the territory, turning a biological coincidence into a corporate acquisition. Finally, Warren Hastings moved to standardize this control. He overrode centuries of local tradition by installing British Civil India criminal courts, ensuring that from that point forward, the law spoke with a British accent. They arrived in 1600 as humble merchants, bowing to emperors and begging for the right to trade. But through a century of systematic betrayal, forced alliances, and rewritten laws, a single corporation managed to devour a subcontinent.